Terminator Genisys made me want to quit life. Hey guys, it's Phoebe from WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for another top 10 movie moments that made fans rage quit.
What a handcuff key. Don't know why I bothered.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Today we're looking at the most cringeworthy and otherwise frustrating moments in popular film franchises that made us throw in the towel, but no animated films will be included. Caution, spoilers ahead. Number 10. CGI Tsunami Surfing. Die Another Day. This was the last time that Pierce Brosnan played James Bond, and it was also the final film before the franchise got its soft reboot in 2006 with Casino Royale. Honestly, revisiting the film, it's not that hard to understand why. 007 films have never shied away from outlandish plot points or gimmicky gadgets, but rarely have the adventures of James Bond ventured into such deeply absurd territory. The crowning jewel of this film's excess, and the last straw for many viewers, was when Bond kite-surfed a giant tsunami, a poorly rendered CGI monstrosity of a wave set against an equally dodgy computer-generated environment. Number 9. Judge Dredd takes his helmet off a lot. Judge Dredd.
The evidence has been falsified! It's impossible! I never broke the law!
When news of this film first broke in the 90s, fans of John Wagner and Carlos Ezquerra's comic book icon had reason to be excited. Sylvester Stallone had the physique to fill out the uniform, the talent to turn in a solid performance, and perhaps most importantly, the sort of jawline required to make that helmet work. You see, one of Judge Dredd's trademarks is that he seldom removes his helmet, and when he does, his face remains carefully hidden, representing the faceless and soulless nature of the justice system. Stallone completely flouted this unwritten rule, however, and his mug featured prominently. For many fans, it was an unforgivable creative decision.
You betray the law!
Number 8. The John Connor reveal. Terminator Genisys.
John. It's good to see you, Kyle. You're alive. Yeah.
First of all, thanks for spoiling this major plot twist in the trailer. But hey, maybe it helped soften the blow of this narrative miscalculation. At the very heart of the Terminator franchise is John Connor, the boy who will grow up to serve as the leader of the Resistance, humanity's last hope against Skynet and its machine army. So on the one hand, we can understand the shock and awe effect that the filmmakers were going for by turning him into a Terminator. If properly executed, maybe it could have made for a great chapter in the franchise. Unfortunately, it wasn't, and so just felt like a cheap move to bring fans back to the franchise.
That hurt.
Number 7. The hospital scene. Alien vs. Predator, Requiem.
Hi. When are the lights going back on?
We love gory horror flicks as much as the next person, and we're all for filmmakers getting creative and pushing the envelope. But with that being said, we can understand why a lot of people felt that this scene took things way too far. After entering a hospital's maternity ward, the hybrid Pred alien proceeds to turn screaming pregnant women into incubators to breed xenomorphs. The shot of the eggs being forced down one woman's throat is particularly disturbing. Even diehard fans of both the Alien and Predator franchise voiced their disgust at this scene. The general consensus seems to be that the whole concept was unnecessarily bleak, exploitative, and in bad taste. Number 6. The Earthbender Prison Battle. The Last Airbender.
My name is Ang, and I'm the Avatar.
It's difficult to single out just one disappointing scene in M. Night Shyamalan's big screen adaptation of Nickelodeon's animated series. There was the whitewashing, the mispronounced names, and the whole tone, which went from fun and playful to dark and overwrought. But perhaps nothing summed up how much Shyamalan got it all wrong than the bending. In the cartoon, there's a certain correspondence between the martial arts movements that benders use to manipulate the elements and how these elements react. Now, here's some guys just sort of waving their arms around in the movie. This battle between firebenders and earthbenders, who've been put in a prison surrounded by Earth, was reason enough to call it quits. Number 5. Spinosaurus Kills the T-Rex. Jurassic Park III.
Nobody
move a muscle.
In any action or adventure film franchise, there's always a certain pressure to up the ante in a sequel by introducing an even greater, more menacing villain. The problem for Jurassic Park is that they're working with an established roster of prehistoric creatures, the dinosaurs. And as far as the general public is concerned, Tyrannosaurus Rex is king. With the third film, the screenwriters tried to shake things up by introducing the Spinosaurus, a dinosaur that walked the Earth millions of years before Tyrannosaurus Rex. Needing to establish the supremacy of this new threat to the viewers, they had it kill everyone's favorite apex predator. We get the rationale, but many cinemagoers were unimpressed. Number 4. Newt's Death, Alien 3. Going into its third installment, this franchise was battling 2 for 2, thanks to the masterful contributions of Ridley Scott and James Cameron. Unfortunately, Alien 3 had a famously troubled production, cycling through multiple screenwriters and directors. It's a notably darker movie than its predecessors, and that's okay. But in killing off Newt and Hicks right out of the starting gate, the film immediately turned off huge portions of the audience.
Where is she?
In the morgue.
I have to see her.
The cinematic death of a child is always tough to accept, but in this context, it was especially difficult considering everything that Ripley went through in Aliens to save her. The filmmaker killed a great supporting cast and undermined the ending of a superior film.
Forgive me.
Number 3. Every Villain Intro, The Amazing Spider-Man 2.
You're no Spider-Man. He's a Leo. You're a Sagittarius. You will Spectrum again. I'm gonna rip your well-groomed head off.
Andrew Garfield made for a worthy web-slinger, but after a respectable, if underwhelming first film, this reboot threw it all away in the sequel.
Say hello, Twilight Station Savage.
The promise of multiple villains might have enticed some viewers, but as we actually met each one, we were quickly reminded that less is more. Just because characters are based on a comic book doesn't mean that they need to be played like caricatures. Rarely have such talented actors been given such terrible material. Paul Giamatti's Rhino is beyond silly, Jamie Foxx's Electro is hard to watch, and Dane DeHaan's Green Goblin feels so forced that we just wish they'd saved it for a sequel.
Peter.
Number 2. The opening training scene, Dragonball Evolution.
First one to touch the ground loses.
Unless you avoided the trailers, there's no way you went into this film expecting great things. With that being said, until fans saw this opening scene for themselves, no one could have imagined just how bad it would be. If we didn't know any better, we'd think that it was, at best, a fan film, or at worst, a parody, and not a particularly good one. The first shot we get following the opening cinematics is a close-up on Goku's face, dripping with poorly executed CGI sweat. It becomes immediately apparent that Goku has been painfully miscast. It only gets worse and fast. The dialogue is cringeworthy, the fighting is boring, and that bug gag was groan-inducing. Before we unveil our top pick, here are some dishonorable mentions.
Ah, green. Wow.
These artifacts speak of terrifying creatures that thrive in the darkness, waiting for the day when the gate can be opened again.
I had to. They're alive. Like me.
Number 1. Leia's spaceflight and Luke's death. Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. When The Force Awakens came out, it performed well with critics and at the box office, but left some fans less than satisfied. Then The Last Jedi hit theaters and the backlash became much bigger. It's actually hard to pick just one moment that made fans rage quit. Luke throwing his lightsaber successfully undermined expectations, but many felt it was uncharacteristic and cheapened the previous film's cliffhanger ending. Others argued that the hyperspace ramming broke the way the franchise handled space combat. But if there were two scenes that many found unforgivable, it was Leia's use of the Force to soar through space and Luke's projection battle and subsequent death. Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.